Yaminapo, Arokerenime, Yere Abiye Hectogoma. Mingba, Wakirike Radio, Anibopike Omnawarima Lasam. Wasi Otoroko Bo, Pikiduko Wasama Are Okwengbolo, Wasa Nichere Ane, Se Ibi Gose. Che Gose wa Mimi Woyao. Tatariye atelise mina asemina omana eremina omana wodie mesokuma enisone amabele madumo wonyana bioko mankaramaye mina ma dikare opu apuma ini wapukia be wonbeme ini orebe anana ini da sefri be chubia kwengbolo mina be pakabobia tere karamaye mine kreke besebe pakabo tumini mangba mena kubie ma wonjike wasise se bibi ogbo so barabo Friedrich Wenge mena mama Ibibia gose ine nkarama ye bo mine na okwara puma deke wengare bifre ma wakele won duko bele ma mengba ere na okware biabo ane mena yengi bekeni berebo Dr. Mrs. Ibibia Segun-Ojo. Mina yengi bolasa.
I'm here, Sam.
So it's good to, welcome you to the radio interview series, Saibi Gose. Let's start with a few things. You have been a clinical director of community dental services, and then you have subspecialties in dental and maxillofacial radiology, oral surgery, pediatric dentistry, special care dentistry. Can you tell us your background in dentistry?
Well, actually, I came into dentistry by accident. I always knew from childhood. I was one of those. I grew up in a family where my father sort of hinted at what you would become. He saw the potential in every one of his children. So he would say, this one's going to be an engineer, this one's going to be a doctor, and so on and so forth. So if you like, the seed of becoming a doctor was kind of planted from childhood by my father, and I didn't fight or resist it. But so I always knew, always wanted to, if you like, become, go into the medical field. But I had an open mind, and medical field to me then was just a broad thing. And as long as I got the title doctor for my father, I was happy, sort of thing. But then I had hitches during my admission process, and I was thrown from one university to other, and cut a long story short. At the end of my frustrations, after being given medicine in prelim level at one university, and then I got called back into medicine at UI, and then, but before all of this finally came, I already had been offered dentistry at University of Lagos. So I accepted it, and I was fed up of going up and down. And in those days, our parents didn't spoil us like we spoil our children these days, so to say. The parental support, you were very much on your own. The kind of, your parents almost just let you do what you have to do, and you kept them informed of where you were at with things. So even my father didn't know that I had taken up dentistry. So it wasn't until I got home for Christmas after the first semester that my father realized that it was dentistry I was doing, that I hadn't accepted one of the other medical offers. And I just had to tell him that I was fed up of being thrown here and there. So that's how I came into dentistry. I did at some point feel like, maybe I should go back to medicine, but I think God had a hand in every. God has a way of directing our paths.
True.
And it's not till later, you have that sort of ability to look backwards and say, through all this, God was guiding me and I didn't know it.
True.
So that's how I came into dentistry. No regrets now.
Can imagine, because you put over 35 years into dentistry, and you go to the very zenith of your profession as a clinical director. So
yes, by God's grace.
okay, now you said something. Let's take maybe a few steps backwards. Talk about your father, and of course, your father is a household name for most of us, and even those before us. So can you tell us a bit about him and his role in Cricket Bese?
Okay, well, my father, Sir Levi Sika, was he was a teacher through and through, hardcore teacher. and he would seize every chance to teach. If that meant correcting your grammar whilst you were speaking to him, or correcting your krekedokwai whilst you were talking, as a child, you know how our language got very adulterated with Piramokwai. And you would make a sentence and say, Odika. My father would tell you, Odika. And it's me bara me to go be, So he was that kind of passionate teacher, and people he taught over the years at whatever level, in whatever town or village or wherever he taught, would hear our name and go, oh, I used to remember one Mr. Oh gosh, the amount of caning he gave me. But they always remembered one thing or another about it. So he was also a disciplinarian, but it wasn't tough with us children. Actually, as children growing up, we feared my mother, we feared him. He was passionate about our language, and although most of us, his children, virtually all of us, were born outside of Kerekanama, because of his teaching profession in those days and being linked to mission, the Anglican mission. He was always transferred from one place to another. So naturally, we were all born outside of, most of us. I think there's only one of us who was born in Kerekanama.
Okay.
We were born in different outside places, Piragono, and so on and so forth, Calabar, and wherever we were at, all in the east, anyway, the eastern part of Nigeria. But notwithstanding, my dad made sure that Amokwa Waname, that was something he was passionate about. And that became evident when some of us, people like me who were in the younger half of his children, my father and mother had 10 children together between them.
Wow.
My father, being a good Nigerian man, had a couple of extras. but between them, they had 10 of us, but 9 of us grew up because one died in childhood, but 9 of us grew up in the same household.
Wow.
So for us to learn the language was something we didn't do it consciously. It was he just ensured that it was spoken in the house. We didn't know it at the time, but it wasn't until during the war, the Nigerian Civil War, the Nigerian Biafran War, when we first came home. How everybody had to kind of evacuate from where they were going to where they considered a safe place. So we came home, and the likes of me, who were one of the younger ones, it was the first time we were actually coming home to Okrika. We had never been to Kekedaba.
Wow.
So we docked in Kalia village, and it was interesting because the home people, so to say, always assumed that me I'm Ogboni I'm Okoromatolu, they would say things like that. And we just enjoyed watching them talk about us and talk about our family. So it wasn't until we surprised them one day, and I don't know which of us, it might be one of my older siblings, challenged them and spoke back to them.
Okay.
And the word quickly spread around the village. I'm up on Inamo, and he said, So that was my father's doing, because if he hadn't done that, we would have been truly what they considered us to be. We would have been who didn't understand or know anything about their language or their culture.
And he wrote some books.
Yes. That was part of his passion as well. I remember growing up as a child, but it was something he always had in his mind to do, and something a project he always worked on. But I actively saw him, especially when he was working on the Tatarigo Diri. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the two books, the Tatarigo Diri, book 1 and book 2, in a lot of the stories, our names are there.
All right, okay.
The names of his children, we were kind of part of the story, Ibibia, and so on and so forth. I have to find out which one has my name in it. But somehow our names were woven into the little compositions he put in, or the little short stories that he included in the books. So he worked on, language. He just wanted to publish something. He felt strongly that it was something that was lacking, that we didn't have much written work out there that people could use. And he felt very strongly that it should be taught in the schools, which was his aim in writing the Tatarigo Diri series, the book 1 and book 2. And then he went on after that to work on other short things, got involved with Bible translation at St. Peter's, working on his dictionary. The dictionary was actually near the end of his life. I mean, he worked really hard at it, and he wanted to make it bigger than it was. But because of limitations, that he had. And then sadly, Professor K. Williamson, the white lady linked to Cambridge University, whose background was working with minor ethnic languages. Ijaw languages were her specialty. So she was very key in making sure that lots of things were technically correct and were up to date. So she helped with that work up to a point, but sadly, when she died, a lot of her work then got picked up by a certain Roger Blench in Cambridge, who was working with her at the time. So he sort of took over her workload. And that's how my father's work, the dictionary, got into his hands. But without taking care to look for the family, he just went on to publish it online. We tried, when we discovered, it was years down the line, and I personally contacted him to see, ask him how and where and all that. But he just said, lots of people had approached him, and it was very hard to find. And in the end, I kind of rested with the Amaibi Gose. If it is helping people out there, that serves a purpose. At the end of the day, no one else is taking the credit for it. The old man's name is still on it. It's his work. So what would be good for us in time, hopefully, is to see this work develop to the point where the old man would have liked. Increase the vocabulary, increase the size of it, revise it, maybe with or without Roger Blench, but if there would be, such opportunities, and that would really do credit to the man who started it all.
Well, I guess that would take us to another thing, which is the issue of the language today. I mean, you got involved with the language program, and I mean, very quickly, the genes that have been passed on manifested themselves, and you currently lead the online Wakirike language program, which has students from Nigeria, from UK, from US, Canada, even one or two from South Africa. You know, it's just 4 months old, but already there's a lot of interest and passion. Can you tell us a bit more about the online Wakirike language school then?
Well, again, that was something I came into, if you like, by accident. And even though I'd spent, better part of, close to 30 years here in the UK, I did not really know about the Kirike-related groups that were in existence. That was partly because I'm married to a Yoruba man, so naturally when you get married, especially for us women, you tend to lean more on the husband's side of things. So I suppose I was partly to blame that I did not actively look for Yamap Mande, me, and so on and so forth. So it wasn't until quite recently when I came across one of our aunties, Auntie Sarah Alasumuka.
Okay.
She was the one who introduced me when she heard about my dad's work, and she said, "Oh, so you should be able to." Oh, well, it's funny because she would say some things, or she would be lost for a word, and I would supply the word. And then she said to me, "Yeah, you should go and join this teaching group that is started, sort of this." I said, "Auntie, I don't know if I have the time or energy for anything, you know." But she planted the idea, and she was the one that introduced me to the Wakirike UK group. And then, of course, the actual work itself is down to your very self, Dr. B.A. Hector Goman. We thank you for it, for the excellent work that you've been doing all these many years. Because when you and I first got in touch and spoke, I was quite amazed at how involved you were. And I said to you, I think one of my earliest comments to you was, how are you able to cope with all this load of work, plus being a medical doctor full time? Because I know what it is like being a professional in the UK. I always said to people at home, it's not like working at home. No disrespect to my colleagues back home, but at home you could say, no. Here, you have to first of all put in all your hours before. True. And if you want to have time for other things, you have to have booked a holiday or booked off the time somehow, arranged it. You couldn't just come into work and jump off anytime, you know. So I said to you, how do you manage with such a workload? And that's how that's how you and I, I got introduced to the work, and you, in your wisdom, rightly or wrongly, thought that I could be of assistance to you. So it's really down to you, and it's been a lot of work, and I look at it and I say, how does this young man cope? So I often say to you, I'm praying for you, and with your guidance and direction, the work is what it is. And like you said, it's pretty much worldwide. I'm encouraged by the number of expressions of interests from all over, especially back home in Nigeria. The ones here locally, the ones from America, and so on. And that's really amazing, because at the end of the day, I know, and you know, and what drives us is that the language needs to be learned and taught, and the younger generations coming behind need to know their roots and know their language and have the identity that we enjoy. And as I told you with the story of my childhood, if my father hadn't brought us up with language at the background, we would have been completely lost, like many others.
True.
Who were like us, who were were born and raised in other cultures. They would have been, we would have been totally lost. So it's very important. As it happens, the world is a global village these days. So So many of there's a lot of intermarriage, me being an example, and probably, and you too. It's very easy for our children, therefore, to grow up in this sort of neutral zone. But when it comes to language, you can't stay in a neutral zone. You have to learn the language of where you come from. If that means that you learn both languages of your father and your mother, then that's all good. My particular word will be to those who speak the same language. There is no excuse.
There's no excuse at all.
And it's not just Krekese or Kwang. I say to people who are of the same culture and the same language, who raise their children with English language, I say to them, what is your point? Please speak this thing to the children. So that's what drives us, and thank God for the input and the things, the foundation you've laid down. The work is coming on well. It will be nice for us to have structures and processes in place so that it is sustained, so that when we are too tired to carry on, then there will be other people behind us carrying on the torch, as my old school motto used to say.
All right. Excellent. So let's look at coming back home to Kirikebese. What are your hopes and your fears for the Wakirike people?
Well, I'll begin with my fears. My fears bother more on, and I will say it in Kekenokwaimbe. Mena bipio go sokam. Bipio go sokam yonokuma bakame. Mena mabe that and this is something, you know, there's too much apparent disunity. There is no reason why we couldn't be truly united. And unity is not about us holding programs. It's not about us holding Wakirike Unity Forum. Those are not the things that will make us united. What will make us truly united, in my view, starts with individual. It starts with individuals, because it's individuals that would collectively then be united. So we can have the biggest number of unity meetings and bring our alapo, and if the individuals still have this spirit of disunity, and it's your going, I might be saying, or might be saying, I might name it saying, you know, and pushing ourselves forward. These are the things that bring about disunity, and they don't need to be so. It hurts me when I see people not fighting for the collective good, but fighting for their individual selfish recognition, because that is never going to help us progress as a nation. As I speak as Cricket Nation now, not the nation of not nation in the technical term, but in the broad, as is in the sense.
Kirikebese, yes.
Yeah. So that is something that I think that we need to reflect upon as people of Wakirike. Whether we're from Krika Island, we're from any of the villages, we're from Ogu, we're from Bolo, we should think about the collective. That motto is very weighty, and God bless whoever brought it. Amai Gose. It's such a lovely motto for us to have. Amai Gose. So even when we're hurt, even when we feel like this person has offended me or has said something, if we will remember Amai Gose, and forgive the person and move on and do it for the sake of the Ama. And I think that will really remove disunity amongst us and help us progress more. What was the other thing? The things that make me
Yes.
that's the thing that riles me. You can understand
Yes,
the thing that
definitely.
riles me.
That's a serious one. It's the bedrock of the community. If there's disunity, then we can't do anything else.
No, no, not at
Mm.
all. And that's the point.
How
So
can God give us a name Wakirike, which talks about
yes,
we are one, we are not
yes.
different, then we are.
And yet, all we demonstrate is wakereme, and of course, minagbenke.
Mm,
So we should, as individuals, always reflect on our name, Wakerike,
mm,
reflect in the case of this coalition, Amaibi Guse, reflect on the motto
mm,
that drives us, and learn to forgive and learn to work as a united single front, because there's strength in unity.
definitely, definitely.
Yes, and if we don't have that collective strength, then we're wasting our time. We'll never make progress.
What about our environment?
Yes. Now that's another very passionate thing I have, and every time I go home, I cringe when I'm traveling because I always prefer to travel by sea, by boat.
Mm,
You know, my family, Port Harcourt family base is in Burukiri, so
okay.
it's easier for us to get to the waterside and hop on the boat
Mm-hmm.
and go across than to drive around. More so, also because we had a family tragedy in 1999, one of these communal clashes in River State,
Okay.
where my own twin brother was, became a victim
Oh dear.
of the Eleme Okrika clashes that
Okay.
happened. And we lost him. I use the word lost him because it's very difficult to bring closure to that sort of thing.
Mm.
Never saw him again. And on the day 4th of October, 1999, my sister, he had told my sister, my eldest sister, that Amamuabo, my mom was in Okrika Island then. Sisima, we called my mom Sisi.
Mm.
And my sister said to him, go by boat. They agreed they would go by boat. But he set off and got lured into a bus, apparently, calling Krika Krika so much, at some ridiculously cheap rate. And he hopped on it. But every one of them, apparently, that were on that, they were lured, and the people that lured them were speaking Amokwen.
Wow.
They turned out to be Eleme people who took our sons and daughters and went and slaughtered them, and we didn't see them anymore.
Wow.
So that also kind of made me not interested in traveling by land, put me off. So traveling by sea, what you see, the debris, the rubbish in our waterways, it's beyond, I can't express it. It's worse than, our streets are not that dirty, they're not that filthy. It's worse traveling. I mean, water bottle, all the and then pure water.
Okay.
Pure water, nylon man.
Yes, the plastics.
The plastic waste is, and nobody needs to tell us how many centuries it takes for plastic waste in fact, it does not, it never goes away. So, but such is the kind of waste that we are accumulating. Well, plastic my waper baking up man, and even paper na other biodegradable materials use. But meaning I'm not gonna nylon. You go nylon kwan. Go febe nylon. Some febe nylon. Even while like nylon akpa baromie. And you just throw them away. In our case, menaming might be man pick sorry. So papa mengi aru fianru borrow engineer rue borrow from Port Harcourt to already a rubbish move my back and it is heartbreaking. By the time you get to Bolo, the barges around Bolo, the foreigners who own those barges, they don't need any rubbish collection. Mena mingi mabi mini na rubbish mangba. Na ye go and in asa and the rubbish dump is the water. It shouldn't be like that. We should be able to control them. In fact, we should. Those people on those barges at Abuloma. We're going to be jene na rubbish man bare ming mabe. In bare mena ming be juma. It's not the only source. By the time you come to the water side in Port Harcourt, the whole place is full of plastic waste and all manner of waste again. But we have to start small. And I feel very strongly that what task force whatever way we can do it, there are ways that they're using to, machinery that they can use to sweep, as it were, break up rubbish from maybe we can think into ways of getting such machinery so that we can sweep our waterways clean, because these things affect us. They affect our livelihood. Plastic bottles na nylon akpamana the fish themselves because everything is so polluted and so nothing is the same. I mean, when I was in my childhood, my little childhood in Okrika, if you just got down to the water side, you will see the Ingbe you will even pick some Nangulo just going down to the water side on the mangrove bushes. They were like that. They were happy to be that close to us. Now there's no chance, not a chance. Even when you take a boat to go looking for Nangulo and Esam, they're all polluted and it's heartbreaking. So we need to begin the environment. We need to begin to do the same back home. And I really feel that if we can develop anything, however small, start environmental sanitation it shouldn't just be around our houses. Maybe we need to begin to think about our waterways, because that's our land. Our farmland, as it were.
Yes, and I mean, there's some, like you said, in terms of what is being done here, there's some what they call, I think I've seen what they call a dirt-eating robot in the waterways. Now, even if there's only one of that in the States, and it can say 1 month in each local government area, that kind of thing, as a Miakalo, Okrika local government, you can use it for your waterways, at least do something. Yeah. So, I mean, like we say that Miangen, when Yayema, we don't have to start from the scratch. We can learn from the experience here and then put some of the simple things into practice. Absolutely. You're quite right, yes. What about your hopes for Okrika Besai?
Well, where there's life, there's hope.
True.
So haven't ranted and raved about the things that I'm disappointed about, the world that I would like to change for us. I would also like to be hopeful that that things can get better. So if that means in the area of language, as we've been talking about, we've already touched on that. It's a start. Working on our unity, the things that should keep us united. To go forward and improve. I have great hopes that the generations coming behind us, that they will do far better things. They will use technology to our advantage. We will not always remain, if you like, the small but we should be a voice to be reckoned with. So when matters of Kiri Bere and all those kind of things, or important decisions in Port Harcourt local government, and Ibibia Mangere more involved work, Mini Kirken Maso should have a voice in those sort of things. I I have hopes that things can get better, and I just hope that in the area of education, everything, that we won't just be people who are coming up and developing other places, but when in the Minama, me telemabia, when in the our homeland can be a place of refuge, a place that we will enjoy coming back to for those of us who live outside. And for those who live there, that they too will be happy to remain there and be happy to progress and happy to remain there and uphold our values for us, because they're like the homekeepers for us who are outside. In as it were. So that my Bimi will be very far-reaching. That I don't have big unattainable hopes, but I do believe that if we start small,
yes,
then we can only grow bigger and better.
Definitely. The journey of 1,000 miles begins from the first step. So we take baby steps, definitely, yes.
With a step. I used to enjoy one, I learned one Calabari. It's a Calabari song. I don't know it's it's a Calabari song, but it is easy for us to understand in Kirkenokwai. But it was a song I always loved singing. I learned it in secondary school. But I'll say the words in Kirkenokwai. Made a desert. They call it me, but I don't know whether we would use the same word.
Okay.
And they will say, "Ene bolu." Me will say "toro me." Maybe will say "toro me." You know, one drop of rain at a time.
Yes, and there's that song too, isn't it? Little drops of water, little grains of sand, make a mighty ocean and a pleasant land.
Absolutely, it's the same song, but I knew it in Calabari.
In Calabari, yes.
But can I have a gentleman? Okay. I'm sure we can easily make a cricket contraption of it as well. But it's an encouraging song.
Yes, yes.
A little step at a time.
True.
Will take us a long, long way. But the only other thing I will, if you don't mind, let me just, I just remembered when we're talking about passion and our language, language Sukulu in particular. I would use this forum to call upon our people, especially those back home, that it would be nice for us to be united. And whatever little things people are doing back home in their own, if they have this, they share this vision and share this passion, they should please join forces. Help the already on ground activities rather than everybody starting their own little project. You are source a borrow united front. Say, me, I'm a point so that me just maybe can I smap my wa ninda ye be one more year. I'm not gonna smap my so ninda. I'm not gonna mina borrow vision me represent ya be. Walk or your kuma. The sky will be the limit, and we'll be able to achieve great things. Mina mo coin me, you know. We mentioned my old father's work. He wasn't the only one. There had been other people like Abam, Kalio, and so on, who have written little books that are like references for us. And I'm always encouraged when I see people using the online dictionary that my dad wrote. But my mama meaning by enjoy abe, meaning by use abe. So was mebo mena yengeri riona yebe riona dirigembi me riona me yebe. What I'm not saying don't do anything, but why don't you further what had gone on before? Why don't you think about what new thing can I do, or what further thing can I do, rather than repeating the same old thing? Bogimudi Gambia did me, Idiarianic Boru, ABBD, and I be again to how to make simple sentences, how to count 1 to 100, and Pai Yarami, Monyanabia Egosi. But there's nothing new in it. So what use is that to us? Why don't you put in more effort into research? How we will improve, find more words, make more words, create more words for, I just said to you, I don't know what we call desert in Kirkenokwa and Mke. We know the Calabaris call it me. Maybe if we hear what the original tongues call it, if they have a word for it, maybe we will form our own one that makes sense to us in Kirkenokwa. And if we don't have it, we can create a word. There's no reason why the dictionary cannot be revised. I'm not even saying work on my father's own. If you're going to start your own by all means, but put in more new words into it. The other people will now say, okay, a lot of research has gone into this. Now we can say we have a word. I remember not so long ago on one of our forums, somebody said, what's the word for zero? And some of us said, oh, well, zero technically is not a number, and so on and so forth. Then in the dictionary, there's fo, there's ho, and there's this young lady who does the cricket radio who always says fo. And we all agreed, of course, that's the word. It makes sense. It makes sense for us to say fo or ho or zero.
Yes.
So when we're calling out a number, we put fo or ho. So let's work in the areas that will improve and progress the language, not repeat the same A, B, C, D, and alphabet. And yes, that's good for people to learn, but there's enough of that on ground. Join forces to teach people those things rather than spend all your energy writing another book about learning the alphabet and learning 1 to 500 or whatever it is. That's no use to anybody. That's just, repeating what's gone on before.
Well, thank you very much. I can feel your passion as you say this. And so far for our listeners, I mean, Auntie Ibibia Segun-Ojo, she's a very experienced dentist in the United Kingdom, and she also is the Yediebo #1 of the Krikenokwen Sukulu, the online version in the UK and worldwide. And you can hear her passion that we talk about unity. Yewa Bipio Boso, Bipio Boso make a young kwe, Ibia Pakake really. Yewa Bipio Boso, mine amo kwen mi ebele marap, ma yewa Bipio Boso. Let's work together. It's great for our personal ego, but me na mo kwen me and I be okwen golbo ma bakake wa ewa kwen golo won bi me. So and the book by me mini my yara ma was me yosme begina wo mi am going to wo mi you are people boso when you below man so that the language can go from strength to strength. And I have one final question for you, or my penultimate question, that imagine that we had a Wakirike organization and you are the chief executive. The buck stops with you and money is not a limitation. You've just been made the CEO of Wakirike. You have a time frame to do something. In your first year, what would you focus on and why would you focus on that? Wow. Of course, you pay salaries, you do the usual things, but what would be the one project that you focus on and why will you focus on it?
I would think about what's achievable within that 1 year. I know you've mentioned funding might not be the limit, but you could have the funding and not have the right personnel around you and nothing under the sun. You can buy all the machinery in the world with the money. We have many examples of that in Nigeria, and it will become your big lofty project becomes a big white elephant project that's because it wasn't well thought out and well researched and well planned. Therefore, I will start small, and I will start by making sure that I reach out to individuals. If that means a jingle or using jingles, if that means creating little cells all over the cells so that we begin to collectively think like one people. We take on little things like, you know, amocoin, fiemina womapere, menama miamia yese inidie, environmental sanitation say inidie, so that everybody comes on board. And we've been talking about unity, talk about so that everybody is on board with we are doing things as one body, not somebody just bringing lots of money and lots of machinery, thrusting them upon us. Because when we do that, everybody just wants a piece of the cake. Where's the money coming from? Yeah, and Danny, Wami project, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. Let me win a contract. Yeah, if they give me a contract for it, I can do it. No, 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 no. Yeah, winning back. Tari, first of all. Maybe Oboso. And as a united front, now we can fight our environmental issue. We can think about bringing the machinery so that whether there's a supervisor there or there's no supervisor there, the Ablome youths themselves will be the ones keeping guard and making sure that their environment, that immediate water side around the barges is not polluted unduly. The people in ATC area, they will be the ones keeping guard. If you throw litter, they will catch you and tell you, what can you do so big? Ichoko say, refuse collection, dustbin mbechuka. You know, we will be our own police force. We will be our own people, because MIB mentality has been built into us. So I will not start very big. Yes, the money will be good, but I'll probably spend it, first of all, reaching out and winning over people, first of all, to change their way of thinking. Because if there is no change in mindset, if there's no cultural shift, if there's no behavior change in people, then the same old thing will continue. And it doesn't matter how much money you throw at us, we will still go back to our bad old ways, our selfish ways. Then I'll grow from there. So I'll fight the environment, but I'll have my natural soldiers with me by then. I wouldn't need to get people everybody will be fighting the battle with me. I will then spend money on things like you are a bridge man, you are bridge ma karama. Then in here Wapreka bridge man, in Nama Kibama bridge ma, say mena mamala, you know, what telema, and look at our refinery. The last, I may be wrong, but the last time I'm going back quite a few years. Yeah, Mamubi, if you travel by road, it was like you were going to go into big gullies, basically. Yeah, tankers maybe it's all nicely tarred now. Forgive me if I am talking a load of rubbish in that department. I haven't been to see, but I will of course make sure that roads are maintained as a matter of every time, not just once, one-off roads, bridges. Then even improving our means of transportation so that people can really, truly enjoy. Now I know that it's a means of livelihood for the little boats, everybody to have their own little, but there's no reason why there couldn't be, you know, Wakirike's boat that runs that you can keep to time, you know that that big boat, it comes.
Yes.
So when you have big things to carry from Port Harcourt to Amogono or something like that, you're not worrying your head too much. You're not scratching your head. How am I going to transport this thing? Or you want to travel to Bolo, you know that, okay, Port Harcourt to Bolo, there's twice a day. It's big, good, solid, safe means of traveling by boat. So it'll be very small. I'm a woman, so I think I think from the roots. And that would be my approach.
Okay, thank you, man. Our last question is, do you have any advice for any particular group, either men, women, children, politicians, kings, chiefs, professionals, just one particular group? Do you have any specific message for any group of Wakirike people? Final question.
I would address the whole, I wouldn't want to address one particular group, but the group here locally that we have all been associated with our Wakirike group, our coalition group, is one that I know closely now. Even though I'm relatively new to it. Again, I will preach the message of unity amongst us, and I would say that please, 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 let's join forces. Let's not allow selfish interests to mar our vision. If we have a passion about things that can improve our Wakirike said, then we should share the vision and we should seek to tackle it as a united front. So I cannot overemphasize the need for unity amongst us. And then, of course, our language is our one front of unity. It's the one thing that we can hold to identify each other. So let's also please join forces and help to improve our language so that unity will come more naturally to us.
Yeah, when I think I've had an excellent time having a conversation with Auntie Ibibia, as I call her, Dr. Mrs. Ibibia Segun-Ojo, who trained as a dentist in the University of Lagos. Graduated in 1983. She's a fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons, 1996, and she's a very well experienced dentist. She works in hospital and was clinical director in community dental services here in the UK. She leads our language school, our online language school. She has a passion for everything Kirike Bese, and why not, being the daughter of the well-known and well-read Sir Levi Sika of blessed memory. God bless you really good. Have a good day.
God bless you too.
Okay. Bye-bye.